If you've spent your life being told to grow a thicker skin, you know the exhaustion of sensory friction. You walk into a crowded room or a tense conversation and feel hit with wave after wave of intense, unmanageable energy. While others brush off criticism or ignore loud environments, you often find yourself stuck. You feel everything deeply, notice things others miss, and find it difficult to move on from emotional situations with ease. Society often judges these reactions as character flaws or psychological disorders. From the outside, shrinking away from a loud room or taking days to recover from a harsh comment looks like a system error. However, psychology identifies these experiences as signs of being a highly sensitive person, or HSP. It is a recognized personality trait, rooted in the nervous system's architecture, not a disorder. The difference between an HSP and the average person comes down to data. It is a matter of how the brain structures and handles incoming information. To understand why sensitivity is a biological reality, we have to look at the cognitive pipeline, the path data takes as it moves through three distinct phases: information intake, deep processing, and the resulting system cost. The first phase is information intake. The average brain filters noise, but an HSP brain captures every particle of data. You absorb details others overlook, prioritizing micro-information, like a subtle tone, a fleeting expression, or a feeling that something is off. This intake includes emotional data as well. When someone close to you is hurting, you don't just observe their stress, you feel it. Their happiness lifts your mood, but their pain physically alters your own emotional state. Because your input sensors are perpetually dialed to maximum, the system remains flooded with high-fidelity information, leaving very little room for the brain to ignore negative experiences. This influx of raw data leads to phase 2, processing. Once that volume of information enters the system, the brain has to determine exactly how to handle it. With so much data, HSPs rarely act impulsively. Instead, the brain runs mental simulations, reflecting carefully on dozens of possibilities. You weigh consequences and potential outcomes thoroughly. This depth of reflection requires immense mental energy to reach a single conclusion. This process creates a thinker who is naturally thorough and empathetic, but the sheer amount of computing power needed to run these simulations is immense. This leads to the final phase, system cost. In a biological system, running complex, high-resolution software at all times will eventually drain the battery. This is why seemingly small things, like a harsh comment or a crowded room, take such a heavy toll. The brain is working so hard to process every sensory and emotional detail that it burns through energy reserves at an accelerated rate. Eventually, the pipeline hits its limit. The result is profound mental and emotional overstimulation, a system overload. The intense need for alone time serves as a strict biological requirement, a designated period to clear the processing cache and restore energy. Quiet time acts as a period of standard system maintenance. It is the mechanical process that allows the brain to reset after handling an environment that was simply too loud and too deep. Your intense reactions are not a sign of fragility. They are the logical, unavoidable output of your specific neurological hardware. This pipeline offers distinct evolutionary advantages. The same depth of processing that consumes so much energy also allows for unparalleled empathy and the ability to account for subtle variables that others miss. It is a permanent trade-off. For a highly sensitive person, the world will always feel louder, sharper, and more emotionally draining. However, that exact same pipeline ensures the world is also vastly more meaningful and more deeply felt. Understanding the psychology of the HSP isn't about fixing your sensitivity. It is about recognizing it as your permanent operational baseline. When you understand your own cognitive pipeline, you can stop fighting your biology. You can manage your energy, respect your need for quiet, and finally understand why you experience the world so differently.